Welcome to the Aboriginal channel. On this episode, it's going to be another part to the Bible Weaponized, where we're going to be locating Cain and Abel, the sons of Adam and Eve, in the creation story of the Bible in American Indian culture throughout the Western Hemisphere. So right here, we're looking at basically a cutout from the Bible where Cain and Abel were the sons of Eve. In a previous video, I said that Eve was the Bible's version of Eggshell, the Mayan goddess. So right here at ancientmayanlife.com, it says that a female deity of the ancient Maya was a goddess known as Eggshell, also known as Lady Rainbow, who was either the companion or wife of Itzamna. Pause. So in a previous video, when I talked about Adam, I said that he is the Bible's version of the god Itzamna, who is a god that is involved in creating human beings and also was recorded for naming things in the area of Yucatan, which we know Adam was responsible for giving things its names and also had a hand in the creation of Eve. So right here it says, so far as it is understood, Eggshell seems to have two forms. One that is also known as the old or aged moon goddess, called either Shekshell or Shekshell Eggshell, and one that is known as the young moon goddess. So Eggshell took two forms, one older and one young. Then when we go down here, it says also there is a theory that states that blood woman or blood moon, called Eggshell in the handbook of life in the ancient Mayan world, could be an aspect of Eggshell. Blood woman was the mother of the hero twins. So basically, from my understanding, Eggshell's younger version is this person right here called Eggshell, who is the blood woman, which was the mother of the hero twins. Now, when I went and looked up something on Eggshell, I found an interesting occurrence. Right here at heroesjourney.com, it says the oldest and probably most cosmically powerful of the Mayan deities is Eggshell, known as the Kodiak goddess O. It says Eggshell was the Lady of Blood, who is a rare and interesting deity. Goes on to talk about the hero twins, the first hero twins. There were two sets. It says the severed head of one of the two brothers, Han Hanapu, grew into a calabash tree, and although she was warned to stay away from it, she still went to investigate it. One of the fruits had grown into an eerily skull-like shape and begged her to take it, and when she reached out to it to do so, it spat into her hand, instantly impregnating her. This is the younger version of Eggshell. This is Eggshell, which Eggshell is Eve in the Bible. Eve is the mother of Cain and Abel. Right here, she's the mother of the hero twins. It says the Maya hero twins are the central figures of a narrative included within a colonial Quiche document called Papavu, and constituting the oldest Maya myth to have been preserved in its entirety. It says the twins are often portrayed as complementary forces, the complementary pairings of life and death. Pause. So Cain and Abel, in that regard, one representing life and the other would represent death, since one died, one was killed. So that correlates back here to the hero twins, because they were the complementary pairings of life and death. Right here it says the hero twins in other Native American cultures. Many Native American cultures in the United States have traditions of two male hero twins. For instance, in the creation myth of the Navajo called the Dime Bahani, the hero twins, Monster Slayer and Born for Water, sons of Changing Woman, acquire lightning bolts, arrows, from their father, the sun, in order to rid the world of monsters that prey upon the people. And then Ho-Chunk and other Siouan-speaking peoples have a tradition of Redhorn's sons. The mythology of Redhorn and his two sons have some interesting analogies with the Maya hero twins mythic cycle. Then when you look over here at these little drawing, it says the Mississippian hero twins emerging from a crack in the back of a raccoon-faced hornet serpent. Then down here it says possible representation of hero twins on an engraved shell gorget from the Sparrow Mounds in Oklahoma. So these hero twins are represented basically throughout the Americas. Now I have to speak to the fact that these gods have been plagiarized in the book of Genesis, because if you look at the situation, God took the wings from the serpent god. He made Eve go through laborious pain giving birth. He drove out Adam. He caused Cain to kill Abel and then drove Cain out. And then after that, the rest of the information in the Bible occurred. And we'll get to that in future videos. But I'm going to point one more thing out, and that is that the Europeans destroyed a lot of the information. So right here at ancientorigins.net, in an article titled Treasures of Mexico, the Mextecs, Aztecs, and Maya codexes that survived the conquistadors. It says, when Europeans arrived in the New World, they did not only kill people with war, slavery, and disease, they also attempted to destroy the cultures of the native peoples. Among so many cultural tragedies, one stands out in Mexico: the burning of ancient manuscripts illustrated and written before and shortly after the Spanish invasion. So they went around burning the ancient manuscripts, just like they went around up here burning our records at the courthouses with our Indian identification on them. But let's go over here and correlate a little bit about how and when the information was burned. So here we have at the Mayan pantheon, the many gods of the Maya, at ancient.eu. Right here it says there were over 250 deities in the pantheon of the Maya, and owing to the mass burning of their books by Bishop Diego de Landa in 1562, much information about the gods and Mayan culture was irretrievably lost. It goes on to say that the Quiche Mayan religious text, the Popol Vuh, gives one set of names for the gods which the Yucatec Maya knew by other names. And of course, other places in the Western Hemisphere with other nations knew those gods as other names as well. As we seen that in the Navajo culture, the hero twins were the sons of changing woman, which correlates to Eggshell and Iki being the same person, maybe in different time periods, because in today's times, what makes one person change is time, going from being one younger person to maybe middle age to older or old. And that's the change. But a little bit up here, it talks about Quetzalcoatl, which I mentioned in a previous video, being compared to the prophet Jesus in the Bible. It says right here that Quetzalcoatl was the most popular god among the Maya. And in Christianity religion, Jesus is the most popular prophet of God. It says, and it is not surprising that even today, many of the Maya and non-Maya people congregate at the temple twice a year to receive the blessings of his visit to the earth. So right there, they congregate twice a year to get blessings from Quetzalcoatl, who visits the earth. And that's the same thing in Christianity, where they're waiting on the prophet Jesus to return. And they also pray to Jesus. They say, in Jesus' name we pray. So you pray to receive blessings. So therefore, there's a direct correlation between Quetzalcoatl and the prophet Jesus. But that was on a side note. What we're looking at is the fact that Bishop Diego de Landa in 1562 did a mass burning of Maya books, which they're saying is much of the information is irretrievably lost. But let's go back and look on something we previously read earlier in this video, where it says Eggshell, the Lady of Blood, was warned to stay away from the tree, the calabash tree. In the Bible, Eve, before she had any kids, was warned not to eat from the tree in the middle of the garden. But after she did, she was cursed with conception of kids. So right here, this Eggshell, the Lady of Blood, was warned to stay away from this tree. But she didn't listen to that. She investigated anyway. And when she reached out to the fruit that was begging her to take it, the fruit spat in her hand and instantly pregnated her. So the cause and effect of eating from the tree or having dealings with the tree, the result was pregnancy. And that's the same correlation in the Bible. Now, her kids were twins, the hero twins, who were demigods, which were represented as complementary forces like life and death, which we already went over that. But the point I'm making here is that when you compare the creation story of the Mayan, or the basis of the creation story of the numerous and various different nations and tribes throughout the Western Hemisphere and align it to the book of Genesis and the creation story there are too many similarities for it to be a coincidence. Then when you align the dates of when the Bibles were made and all the different so-called coincidences between American Indian culture and the culture of the Bible, you can't really come up with any other conclusion. And these are not the only so-called coincidences. As we read further into the Bible, we will see more comparisons to culture of the Western Hemisphere. Two of those things I will say right now. One is the Great Flood. In American culture, you had a great flood, or possibly more than one. And in the Bible, I believe there was more than one flood, or for sure there was one involving Noah and his ark. So there's a comparison there. And then in the book of Ezekiel, there is the wheels. That is a direct comparison to American culture because there's artifacts that you can compare the description of those wheels that's given in the Bible to. And there's many different other things about the scenario that correlate back to American culture as well. One of those is that in Mayan history, there was a great disappearance, they say, of a bunch of Mayans at some time in history. And I haven't looked too deep into it. Of course, I will when that comes up later on in the Bible. But those wheels in the Bible had eyes on them that were all the way around. That could correlate to the spirits keeping an eye on the people down here. So I just said that the description of the wheels in the book of Ezekiel in the Bible correlate back to the ancient artifacts in Central America. But not only does the description of that wheel correlate, also parts of the story in the Bible correlate to the historical context of America or Central America in general. Now, I can give you an example of that based upon the information we already covered. So the hero twins correlate back to Cain and Abel because they are the complementary forces of life and death. And then they also correlate back to being the sons of Eggshell, which she correlates to being Eve in the Bible based upon her being the goddess of making babies. And then also Adam correlates to being the god Itzamna based on he names things and also is involved with creating Eve. And we know all that information, but we can go over and look at how it says that the hero twins were demigods. Now, how could Cain and Abel be demigods? Well, they're demigods through conception. Adam and Eve weren't made through conception, and plus they ate from the tree of life, so that made them gods. But their children, however, was conceived into the world, which the way I see that is that that would make them demigods as well. As you look up the definition, a demigod is a being with partial or lesser divine status, and that definition right there alone fits Cain and Abel since they did not eat from the tree of life themselves. So basically, there's a lot of correlations and comparisons in the details. Through the history books, which has all been a lie. So therefore, if it's a lie, then what's the truth? If it's a lie, then what